Where exactly does Mike Elko rank among the best coaches in college football?
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. I'm your host, Matt Galatzan of Texas A&M Aggies on SI. Welcome to Locked On Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in the world. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I'm joined by Zach Dimmitt today. Zach, we have a lot of these off-season lists coming out, and there's one that I saw from, one of the bigger names out there in the college football media industry, Josh Pate. I like Josh a lot. I think he does a great job. He released his top 10 coaches in college football, and Mike Elko made the list, which, is good. I'm not sure about his place on it, and we'll get to that here in a second, but it is good that he did make the list. He is one of the top 10 coaches in college football, in my opinion. Now, where he ranks in terms of where these other coaches are, I have some issues with this list overall, but we'll start off with Mike Elko. He comes in at number 10. Good spot, I guess, but it feels like he could be a little bit higher here. He falls in just behind Mario Cristobal of Miami, which, okay, Mario Cristobal beat you in the playoff. He got to a national championship game. I'll give him there. And then Steve Sarkisian at number 8 as well. He went to back-to-back college football playoff semifinals before missing the playoff this past year. But he does have a few more, skins on the wall than Elko, so I'm okay with that as well. But 10, I guess 10's a pretty good spot here for Elko.
Yeah, I don't have too much of an issue with it. Of course, there's some names though that I think have that Elko has an argument to be above. Kiffin and DeBoer, one of them. He's at number 7, of course, from Alabama. I know the Tide won a CFP game this year, made to the SEC championship, but it's been sort of rocky.
CFP. They didn't win a CFP game. Yeah.
Well, they beat Oklahoma.
That's right. I forgot about that game.
Yeah,
my bad.
I mean, because they got destroyed the next game, it kind of made it irrelevant.
That's right.
So, they did that, but then they got destroyed in the SEC championship as well. So it's kind of been a rocky road for the Tide. They didn't make the CFP the season before. I think Elko, there's a strong debate to be made for him to be above Kiffin and DeBoer. At number 6, I know you're going to have some potentially strong feelings about this one. Lane Kiffin at number 6 for LSU. That one's a little bit tough for me. He hasn't coached a single snap at LSU. He didn't even lead Ole Miss to this college football playoff, technically. And so Lane Kiffin's a great coach, but Mike Elko, there's a debate to be had there as well. So overall, the list is pretty solid. I do think it's kind of, a little bit of a hot take by Josh Pate here. Kirk Cignetti at number 3. Ryan Day and Kirby Smart at 1 and 2 respectively, but Kurt Cignetti just won the national title in one of the best coaching jobs we've ever seen in college sports, if not American sports. So yeah, kind of an interesting placement there. Just kind of quickly though, if we look at ESPN, this is obviously ESPN's rankings from headed into last year. You have Kirby Smart number 1, Ryan Day number 2, Dabo Sweeney number 3. So that just tells you a lot about what one bad season can do when it comes to look how coaches are viewed in the eyes of the rest of the country. And Mike Elko wasn't even on this list last season. So he certainly is going to keep rising amongst the top coaches. And I think a top 10 spot, you can debate where it is, but I think a top 10 spot is perfect for him, because I think this program is going to continue to keep getting better as the seasons go on.
Yeah, and that's kind of my issue with the list a little bit, is Elko being behind Lane Kiffin is the one that I really have a problem with, because Lane Kiffin's never coached a playoff game. He's never obviously won a playoff game, and his Rebel team, almost looked better without him against in the playoff against Georgia. And against Tulane, and they played a hell of a game against Miami too, and almost won that thing. So, I would probably move Elko up to at least to 9 and put Lane Kiffin at 10. That's kind of a thing. But then the other thing here is, I completely agree with you. I think, first of all, Dan Lanning being that high is kind of crazy to me because he has just gotten absolutely smoked in the playoffs the last 2 years. But Curt Cignetti being behind both Kirby Smart and Ryan Day is a little bit alarming to me just because of what he did. Like, what is the criteria of this list? Is it, best coach heading into next season and how, our recent accomplishments factored into everything? Because, I don't think that there's any doubt in my mind that Kirby Smart is the best coach in college football. Like, period, end of sentence, he's the best.
Sure.
But Curt Cignetti deserves a little bit better than 3 for just pulling off one of the greatest runs in the history of college football with a team that nobody expected to do anything, and doing it at a place like Indiana just makes it that much better. But here's another thing too that I thought was really interesting. They also released. It wasn't Josh Pate that did it. It was, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but they released the top 10 highest paid coaches for next season going into the 2026 season. Steve Sarkisian is 10th. Mike Elko is 8th. And that's pretty interesting to me that he's going to be a higher paid coach than Steve Sarkisian heading into next season. He did just get an extension. So right. It is what it is, but kind of an interesting dynamic there that Elko is the higher paid of the two and the highest paid coach in the state of Texas heading into 2026.
Yeah, what's a few $1 million separating some of these guys? That's pocket change for some of them, but all jokes aside, I do think that Elko will need to beat Steve Sarkisian this year. When I say this year, that's still a long ways away. We can even say next season in that regard. But later this November, he's going to have to beat Steve Sarkisian to avoid falling to 0-3 against Texas if he wants to have any sort of argument of being above Sark. Because it's hard to argue Elko being behind Steve Sarkisian. Some of these other guys, I think it's a much easier argument to make. But definitely, you don't want to be behind the coach of your biggest rival, and when it comes to any sort of rankings. And a big win against Texas at home in November would go a long way in potentially changing that narrative. And I do think it will change in the years to come. But I do think Texas isn't going away. A&M's not going away. So it's going to be some competitive football between those two. And that's going to be a debate that certainly will be heated between the two fan bases because we all know what happens between those two whenever some of these debates get rolling. So, as far as the rest of the list, you mentioned Dan Lanning. I do think there is some question surrounding him when it comes to the big games. Oregon's a great team. Dan Lanning's a great coach, but he gets blown out by Indiana in the CFP. He gets blown out by Ohio State. He won a Big Ten championship last season, but it was against James Franklin, who I think has a lot of fraudulent sort of narratives around him as well. Marcus Freeman is on this list, number 5. I don't have a problem with that. He was a possession or two away from winning a title last year at Notre Dame. But Elko can easily jump up this list this time next season if A&M doesn't have to win a title or anything like that. But if he's winning a few playoff games, taking A&M to an SEC championship, which he has already been on the brink of 2 straight seasons, which I think a lot of people tend to overlook outside of College Station. You're going to see him jump up this list, pretty quickly, especially if we're right about, what we think about Lane Kiffin and what we think about Kiffin and DeBoer as being guys that are a little bit questionable. Excited to see what happens, with Elko this upcoming season for sure.
Yeah, the thing about Kiffin and DeBoer is if he goes 9-3 and misses the playoff this year, he's probably going to get fired. And to me, that does not sort of indicate a top 10 coach in college football. But just real quick, highest paid coaches in college football. There are a couple here that stick out that, it's like one of these things is not like the other thing. Curt Cignetti, Kirby Smart, Lane Kiffin, Ryan Day are the top 4. And then you have Dabo Sweeney at $11.5 million per year, Dan Lanning. And then you have Lincoln Riley tied with Elko and Lanning. And then Deion Sanders is at $10.8 million, the same as Steve Sarkisian. So those three guys are getting paid probably a little bit too much money right now, and that's pretty funny to me. But stick with us after this break. We've got the NFL Combine started today, and there's a couple of Aggie players who are going to face some questions heading into that, and we're going to talk about that next here on Locked On Aggies. Have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of the year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's episode is also brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. So for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if TurboTax didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Quick reminder, get Locked On Aggies ad-free with the Everydayer Club, plus members-only Discord access. Join at lockedonaggies.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more about that. Zach, like I said, NFL Combine started today. We have a bunch of defensive players that are going right now. The linebackers, defensive linemen are the main showers there. And we heard a couple of Aggies talk. Cassius Howell had some things to say. Taurean York had some things to say. And we'll probably get into that later in the week. But there's a couple of questions facing, a pair of prominent Aggies specifically that I kind of wanted to get into. And it's kind of going to determine their NFL future, their draft stock, and those kinds of things. And I want to start on the offensive side of the ball, and it's Le'Veon Moss. One of the big things about NFL running backs is for one thing, they have a short lifespan. After your first NFL contract as a running back, typically, unless you're a superstar like Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley, you have either a really hard time getting a big re-signing contract, like re-signing, for a big amount of money, or, it gets really hairy. I'll put it that way for running backs after their rookie contract. And for Le'Veon, he already has a ton of mileage on him. He already has a bunch of health issues, getting knocked out for the year in each of the last two seasons. So I guess the big question that he has to answer, and one that we will see him asked about probably a lot over the combine interview process and with the media, is his ability to stay healthy. And that is something that if he can't do, his NFL career is going to get cut short. But if he can figure out a way to do that, he probably will be a very, very solid player at the NFL level.
And it's unfortunate because when you ask players about something in their game they can improve on, for the most part, they have control over those things. A guy just can't all of a sudden become ultra athletic necessarily, and improve his vertical by like 4 inches or anything like that. But for the most part, guys can improve when it comes to things that there may be questions about. With injuries, though, sure, there's things you can do to like prepare your body, There's injury prevention, workouts, things like that. I'm not a medical expert, so I don't know everything that goes into it, of course, but there's some things you can do, but for the most part, you don't have control over your injury issues. And if you really did have control over injury issues, hundreds of players in the past across multiple sports would have done the things necessary to prevent injuries from cutting their career short. And certainly with football and at the running back position, that's definitely the case there. So there is going to be questions about that. It's unfortunate because I think Le'Veon Moss will really impress in interviews. I think he'll impress during his workouts. But when you put the pads on during training camp, preseason, there is going to be a little bit of a wincing feeling, I guess, from A&M fans, hoping that they don't see another potential injury pop up for him, because it just sucks. It sucks to say, because he had a lot of time at A&M cut short due to that reason. And even Mike Elko said recently that he hated seeing Le'Veon Moss go, and it just sucked even more because there was so much that he felt was left on the plate because of injuries. Not that Le'Veon Moss was leaving anything on the plate in terms of production, because I think he's a great player, but you hope that he can just move past those things. We've seen guys that have faced injury issues in multiple sports, face injury issues, and they're able to recover from it and become great players. This is kind of a weird comparison. Steph Curry, I know it's a different sport. I know Le'Veon Moss is not going to be a Hall of Famer necessarily like Steph Curry was. But Steph Curry began his career with major ankle injuries. And there was he missed tons of games. There was a lot of questions about his availability. And of course, we all see the player he eventually became once he moved past the injury, stigma, I guess you could say. Now that's kind of a reaching comparison, but it gives you the idea of, what you can do once you get past some of these injury sort of notions that surround certain players. So I think Le'Veon Moss, if he's able to do that, he can be a great backup and then potentially reach a ceiling of being a multi-year starter. Will he be a star in the NFL? We never know how these things play out. Some guys, when they get to the league, they just find a different level and they hit that. But I think if he's able to carve out a nice backup role, that'd be awesome for him, and it'd be great to see that considering some of the time he missed at A&M. But yeah, we just got to wait and see what happens there. I think he's going to be productive during drills. I think he's going to be productive, at A&M's Pro Day, and then certainly going to be impressing during the interviews, because a lot of these guys, as we've seen from A&M, have a great personality. They come from a great culture, and they're all about the right stuff. So there's no questions about those things. But yeah, the injuries are going to have to be something to follow as time goes on.
Yeah, and it's an unfortunate fact, but it's also going to depend largely on where he's drafted, because some NFL teams' training staffs are not up to snuff in terms of keeping players on the field. The Dallas Cowboys come to mind as one that, they need a running back, but if Le'Veon Moss goes there, I'm not confident in his ability to stay healthy, because I'm not confident in their ability to keep their players healthy. You see the injuries, the issues they have every single year. So that's going to be a little bit of a factor. And then another one real quick, Zach, my favorite Aggie that's going into the NFL this year, he's facing a bit of a different issue, and that's Taurean York. And his big issue isn't really his fault. He's undersized. He lacks height. He's got short arms, and that combination of shorter arms and kind of a lack of upper body strength makes it pretty difficult for him to get extension on blocks, and it leads to struggles when he's asked to shed or stack or escape. He even has kind of a tough time getting off blocks from tight ends. He needs to be a little bit more physical, and it also creates issues in man coverage and against tight ends and those kinds of things. And the average size of an NFL linebacker is, between 6'2" and 6'4", and between 230 and 250 pounds. Taurean York currently sits at 5'10", 227 pounds. And that's before his combine measurements. He may have put on a little bit of upper body strength and weight, but his height's not going to change. So that's an issue that he's really facing. And some of the things that he's going to have to explain in his interviews is why he will still be an effective linebacker at the NFL level, despite the relative lack of size. Because if this guy was 6'3", 245 pounds, he'd be a surefire first-round pick. But it's because of that lack of size that he's going to have to make up for a little bit extra in the draft process.
Yeah, that'll definitely, hurt him a bit when it comes to the position at where he's drafted. But I certainly feel confident about him being able to contribute, in the NFL because of the intangibles he has, the mindset he has. And I do think his overall play style makes up for that lack of size and, the lack of weight. Because I think he plays great east to west running. Of course, NFL speed is much different from college speed. So how he looks in that regard, during training camp and preseason is to be determined, of course. But once he gets used to those things, I have confidence that he can contribute as a depth piece to start off with on any given defense, and then eventually make his way in as a starter. We've seen size issues, height issues impact guys at multiple positions in the NFL as the years have gone on, and I think that's something that's much easier to overcome by being all about the right stuff up here. And I think Taurean York certainly has that. So yeah, that is going to be a question. We'll have to see what he does in drills. Some people put tons of stock into how these guys do during the combine drills, and there is something to take from that. But I just hope that some of these teams, I'm not saying he's going to perform bad or anything, but I hope some of these measurements and, if he is a little bit slower than expected in some of these drills, that it's like, we're gonna move him way down our board, because I don't think that's the way to go about these things. Of course, I'm not a GM. I'm not drafting these guys, but I think so much stock is put into these combine drills, and there is importance to them, but it seems like it's a little bit too much stock. So I hope that he's able to do well there. Put any question marks about his size and everything to rest, because I think once he gets on the field, he'll be able to show that none of that matters, and hopefully whichever team drafts him forgets that there was any sort of doubt about his size and all that stuff. So yeah, something to follow for sure. But I got faith in Taurean York.
Yeah, I mean, he's not exactly Doug Flutie, right? I mean, he's still a big dude. He's still strong. He's still fast. He's extremely smart. So if somebody's going to take a chance on him, and I think he's going to continue to overcome his shortcomings, whatever, no pun intended, and become a good NFL player. But we'll just have to kind of see how that goes and how that affects his draft stock. We're going to change gears as we head to our third segment. A huge game for Texas A&M on the hardwood tonight against the Arkansas Razorbacks. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, but coming up in this segment next, we're going to tell you exactly how the Aggies can take down the Hogs tonight. So stick with us after this break, and we'll be right back.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. South Carolina rolled past Ole Miss 85-48 to clinch a share of the SEC regular season title and lock down the number 1 seed in the conference tournament. The Gamecocks extended their win streak over Ole Miss to 21 straight. UCLA dominated Wisconsin 80-60 to secure its first outright Big Ten regular season championship in program history. The Bruins improved to 27-1 overall and remain unbeaten in conference play. And number 12 TCU stormed back from a 13-point fourth quarter deficit to beat Iowa State 80-73. The Horned Frogs now sit alone atop the Big 12 standings and are 1 win away from clinching another regular season conference crown. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Again, spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Your listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your premium status your job the premium status it deserves at indeed.com/podcast. Just go to indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Welcome back. We got a big one tonight, Zach. That is for sure. Texas A&M heading to Fayetteville to take on the number 20 Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas is favored by 8.5, and ESPN's matchup predictor gives them a 70.6% chance to win the game. We tip off at 8 o'clock, and 8.5 point spread's big. It would appear that Vegas does not think Texas A&M has much of a shot in this one. It's hard to blame them because when Arkansas is on, they're really good. John Calipari has done amazing things with this team, and I couldn't be more impressed with what they bring to the table. But Texas A&M is no slouch. Obviously, they're going to have to slow down Darius Acuff. He is, the one of the premier freshmen in the country. Zach said it yesterday on the show. He had 49 points in that double overtime game against Alabama. Just an unbelievable player, incredible scorer. But there is a path to Texas A&M winning this game, and that's what I want to talk about here, Zach. And I'll let you give your 2 cents here because you're more of a basketball guy than I am. But I think first and foremost, the one thing that really sticks out to me for Texas A&M, hit your shots. You have to have Ruben Dominguez, make some big shots in this game. You have to have some complementary help outside of Rashawn Agee and Marcus Hill. You've got to get some other players involved and hit a high percentage from the floor, but have multiple guys in double figures. You have to find a way to keep up with this Arkansas team offensively, because if you don't do that, they could very well run you off the floor.
For sure. Arkansas is undefeated at home this year in Fayetteville. So all their losses have come either on the road or on neutral court, I believe, unless I'm missing something. So it's going to be tough already in that regard. But then when you have the combination of guards and multi-position sort of wings that they have, it's really, really tough. This has all the makings of being a potential offensive shootout, similar to what the game was like in Tuscaloosa when A&M lost that one a few weeks back. So here's the thing. Arkansas, they have some issues when you look at the stats on defense, but on offense, they're absolutely elite. They average the fewest turnovers per game in the SEC, which is also 5th in the country, which is pretty incredible considering that they have a star freshman leading their offense. As a point guard, you expect freshmen to make mistakes and throw a bunch of turnovers throughout the game, but that just simply hasn't been the case for them. And they have the best field goal percentage in the conference at 50.5%, third most points per game, which is right in front of A&M. So on top of that, best 3-point percentage. I mean, the stats don't lie when it comes to how elite John Calipari's offense is. But at the same time, A&M is an elite offense as well. The Aggies average the 4th most points per game in the SEC, which is top 10 in the country, I believe, as well. And A&M, despite having the 2nd most 3-point attempts per game in the conference, are still 2nd in 3-point percentage. If you're attempting more threes, your percentages are going to go down, and that hasn't been the case for A&M. So I think that's a recipe for a potential upset. Is obviously not with A&M, but even with any team. If you're going to try to upset a team, you got to hit your threes because that can completely change a game. And so the percentages don't lie. A&M has a shot there, but Arkansas is very efficient as well. So it's going to be tough. But I think it's going to be an offensive shootout. I don't think either team is going to have a lot of trouble scoring the ball. So because of that, you have to make Arkansas uncomfortable, and it's going to be all about who wins the defensive end. Because if Arkansas is averaging the fewest turnovers per game, you got to buck that trend a little bit. If you're the Aggies, you got to force some turnovers. You got to get some fast break points. It's going to get ugly in my opinion, because the way A&M has played the past 2 games, barely escaping a bad Ole Miss team at home, barely escaping an Oklahoma team that has played better, but still way too close for comfort. I think you can't play that way if you're going to go on the road in Fayetteville and try to get a win against a team who I've said has potential Final Four capabilities. So if there is something that the Aggies, can take advantage of, I think it is in the front court a little bit. Trevin Brazil is a great forward / center for the Razorbacks. He's got a ton of experience, but he's really their most productive big man by a long shot. And so do you put Jamie Vincent on him just to match size for size? Both of them are nearly 7 foot. I know Jamie Vincent is listed as questionable for tonight. We'll see what his status looks like. But I think Jamie Vincent could be a little bit of an X factor there just because of his sheer size. Malik Ewin is another guy to watch for Arkansas, but it all starts with Trevin Brazil when it comes to that front court, because it's all about their guards. Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, Billy Richmond's kind of a wing / guard, DJ Wagner as well. So the offense is elite for Arkansas, but I think the offense is elite for A&M as well. So it's a shootout. If it's a shootout, it's going to be all about who can step up on the defensive end.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. I don't feel great about this one for Texas A&M, but there is a path. We just laid it out for you, and we'll see what happens. I want to say kickoff because I'm still in football mode somehow. Tip-off is set for 8 p.m. Central Time, and it's going to be a tough one. But if the Aggies can get this win, then their ticket for March is certainly going to be punched. But that's going to do it for another episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Locked On Aggies. Tomorrow we will be back to talk a little bit more about the Combine, give you another transfer portal player preview, recap this basketball game tonight, and more. So subscribe and follow the podcast so you get all of the latest episodes. You can find us on every major social media platform at Locked On Aggies. You can find me on X at Matt Galatzan. You can find Zach on X at Zach Dimmitt 7. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Aggies ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonaggies.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On College Basketball, and we will see you next time.